Hi, I just wanted to share something that from my book, Marriage Testimony, which is now available on Amazon. Um, One of the things as I'm writing the book that really came out to my attention was, Peter speaks in um, 1 Peter 3:7. He talks about husbands living with their wives with understanding as co-heirs in Christ. And what really, as when that verse sort of like came into my mind, I'd been thinking about and even writing about the story of Jacob and Laban. And there's this part in the story where, and soon as Jacob gets there, Laban is like, "Oh, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh." Right? It's this restatement of this sort of like unity, this sort of familial, it takes sort of that one flesh kind of idea that we see earlier in Genesis with Adam and Eve, and it applies it to family, and talks about, and Laban's, you're my son, you're my brother. We're inheriting together is kind of the idea. And then a little later, after Jacob had been there for a few months, Laban sees that the Lord's blessing him, and he comes to Jacob and he says, "Your family. So why should you work for free?" And see, the odd thing about his statement is if Jacob's family, if Jacob's the same flesh and blood as Laban, then Jacob inherits with Laban's sons. He inherits. He doesn't work for wages. He works for an inheritance. But Laban says, "What? Name your wage." So as he's like saying, "Oh, your family," he's actually demoting Jacob to the status of a hired hand. So it's a very interesting passage, and I just felt like there was something in there for marriage, and so I talk about that in my book. And one of the quotes from the book is, quote, if I work for my wages in our marriage, then I am left wondering where my pay is every step of the way. On the other hand, if I work with my wife as co-heirs, then I do not worry about my wages along the way, because I have a bigger reward in mind, an inheritance so great we will each be satisfied sharing it together. End quote. Of course, our inheritance is Christ. And I really think that's sort of where Peter's getting when he then ends that verse saying, "Lest your prayers be hindered." So as we are working to build the kingdom, which of course starts with prayer, right? Jesus, that's how he taught us to pray. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We lose our inheritance if, to some degree, there's this danger of losing your inheritance some way. I don't understand how it all works out, but husbands living with their wives with understanding and treating them with the respect that they are due, with the love that they are due, with the honor and the value that they're due as co-heirs in Christ together. If you mess up your wife's inheritance, you're messing up your own inheritance, because you're co-heirs. You inherit together. She's not a hired hand. and so that really spoke to me as I'm writing that book. And if you want to hear more about that story and that process and everything, you check it out on Amazon. Link is in the comments. All right. Thanks.